You allowed to say that you don't like Tyla. I think you allowed to say that you don't like her music and you want a fan. Because at what point do we call a spade a spade? A lot of this is xenophobia. There needs to be an honest-to-God conversation on how American exceptionalism often transcends race.
Let me start by saying, you could never make me hate Tyla. Pushing all my buttons with no hesitation.
But do you think it would have just voted well? She would have just pandered to us? She is in America trying to sell a product right now. But from a marketing standpoint, wouldn't it have been more advantageous for her to just be like, yeah, I'm black, who cares?
Asking her to pander, I don't know. I would challenge us to stop centering ourselves so much and to do some goddamn research.
They want to use people as proxy wars. Perception, though important, I don't know how I feel about people saying one's perception should now become their identity.
I wish we would understand that Black people all across the globe have been colonized, have been force-fed anti-Blackness, and so we all wield and weaponize it against one another.
Hi.
Hello.
Say it back.
They do be ready to jump y'all in the comments like they really starting to piss me off.
Well, at first, it wasn't something that we responded to, so I was like really lost when we started responding.
Right.
Because they started jumping y'all like
It's all about how much
like y'all was
space Olay
disrespecting
leaves
me.
after she says it. If you keep talking, then we know to hush it up. But the space is like...
And the thing is, I used to keep talking so that no one would have the uncomfortable. I'm like, I know they ain't gonna say this back, and I don't want to put that pressure on them. So,
but we want to be good panelists, you know.
Right. For some reason, I also thought you were talking to your audience, like you were only greeting your Black audience.
You know what's funny? I've actually seen this debate in the comments and not weighed in for my own safety, right? Because I saw them having this fight when they were like, I don't understand why when they say hello, she says hello, beautiful Black people. They know she's gonna do it. She does it every episode, and they don't respond. And then someone was like, "To be fair, I think she was talking to the audience." And then in pops a white Olay Friends watcher from the shadows, like, obviously she's not talking to the audience because not everybody in the audience is Black. I was like,
whoa. Let's reel it in.
And I was like, I tell you, I was like, oh, I don't see this. So
you come in and say, actually, I am.
I was like, let me don't alienate people. So yeah, y'all gotta say it back now. So because it's y'all,
we're gonna say it back forever.
That's the official position of the audience. So let me tell you why I've gathered you here today. Ash called me up and said, I have a song in my heart I want to say. Yeah, don't look at me and shake your head. Don't open your eye. You called me and told me.
I wanted to rant. I called you in the capacity of a friend.
That wouldn't make sense for somebody who knows I have a show to film every Wednesday. So that doesn't make sense.
Everything is
She called me talking about, I really have a song in my heart about Tyla and how people talking about this. I said, I did see some YouTube videos about that come out. I can send a Google invite to you. Aaron will send you an invite for Olay Friends. You type up what you think this topic should be for the group. This is a business, Mom. Yeah, don't look like that. I talk to me in my free time.
Not so predatory. This is a business.
Call me on Thursday if you want to have a friendly talk.
That's hilarious.
So, Ash, like, why are we gathered here today?
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to discuss Tyla and the issues surrounding Tyla and the many issues surrounding Tyla. I don't know more than 2 songs from Tyla, but there is a problem within media right now where people just dislike her, whether it's valid or not. I feel as if it needs to be discussed, because at what point do we call a spade and realize that some of this is xenophobia? Like, I feel like a lot of this is xenophobia. And I think you allowed to say that you don't like Tyla. I think you allowed to say that you don't like her music and you want a fan. But a lot of the things that people nitpick at, like straw man, like just literally straw man theory. And so that's all I called the line me for to say, because I was kind of frustrated. But that was it.
And now you said it to everybody. You said it. Now,
well, let me start by saying you could never make me hate Tyla, okay? Pushing all my buttons with no hesitation. I really enjoy her music. I think that she's very talented. I know that there's been a lot of conversation around, this colored versus black identity and things of that nature, and I think that has like driven a lot of the conflict that I've seen around her. And I do think a lot of it is xenophobia because a lot of folks don't really understand like the racial makeup in South Africa, I guess. But what I also think is true is that a lot of people do understand that as well and have, I think, very valid critiques of the fact that she is someone who is in the States, and the States has a very different relationship to race and to blackness that I feel like she's spoken about. But also, at the end of the day, all of us are calling ourselves by some type of like colonial descriptor, right? Colored being a descriptor that comes from apartheid in South Africa. We're using black as folks who exist in a very colonial state of the world. And so for me, it's just like I don't know how she decides how she's going to show up in the States, and I feel like a lot of folks do have a lot of xenophobia around that. But for me, I'm just like, girl, the music is a hit, and as long as you're making good music, I really don't give a f.
I feel like I love Tyla. Whenever I hear her music outside, I enjoy it. Also, the women I be with be enjoying it too, so I'm happy. But I do think the biggest issue is that I think when initially confronted about her South Africanness and like being colored on Breakfast Club, which is not the best platform to do things, she didn't respond well, and then her media team was like, "Don't answer that."
Didn't respond
and I
at
do
all.
think for me.
Because it wasn't initial. To be fair, it wasn't initial. It had already been a thing online where she'd been like attacked with these like bad faith. Like, let me be clear, because I remember when that was on my still chronically online on Twitter days, and I remember initially it was presented, it was all over the timeline as though she was calling herself colored because she did not want to identify with black. Because I remember tweeting being like, that's a bad choice. Like, that will bite her. You know what I mean? If that is the case, that will bite her in the long run. It's better off in her case, if someone trying to be marketed to the United States or, get an audience there, it's better for her to be black anyway. It don't make no sense. You're only going to ostracize people. But I realized quickly that's not even what happened. The gal is just colored based on that's what she is in the country that she's in. And so that had already been a thing. So by the time, let's be honest, as somebody who, has been on the Breakfast Club and also like Charlamagne and them, have a good relationship with them, they asked that to be messy. They didn't ask that. They know why they asked that. And so just instant thought was no. And also, as somebody who's also been on the Breakfast Club and seen someone's handlers behind them try to stop it and they wouldn't stop it for their ego, like, it could go worse. You know what I mean? Like, what have happened? Like, okay, it looked bad. Like, she didn't answer, but then she was able to go online and, explain exactly whatever. Like, it could have gone worse. She could have answered and then, like, had to deal with like Jess Hilarious and Charlamagne and them stumbling through. You know what I mean? Like,
imagine them talking about apartheid.
I heard and whoop out. And that's what I'm saying. Like, imagine what have happened. We're not thinking of all the possibilities.
But do you think it would have just boded well to, like, fared well for a career in the long run if she would have just pandered to us? She is in America trying to sell a product right now. So I do think on press runs, that's a lot of what press runs are. I'm trying to sell myself, trying to sell my product. I'm trying to be the most likable version of myself. Like from a marketing standpoint, wouldn't it have been more advantageous for her to be like, yeah, I'm black. Who cares? In my country, I'm this state, but I'm in America right now. I'm black.
Go on. Sorry. Go on.
I as somebody who I was literally having a conversation today with a dear friend who was very frustrated with me because he was speaking on how different mixed race Black women identify and whether or not it's okay for them to identify a certain way, and was litigating it. And so as someone who's mixed race, and when I step into spaces, I often allow people to identify me out of like, you know what? I know I'm Black, but I understand that that's triggering for other people. Do your thing, whatever. It's also extremely frustrating to have to do that and to feel like that's a necessity in order to be cognizant of your privilege, to be cognizant of all of the, you know, isms around your existence. And so asking her to pander, I don't know. I would challenge us to stop centering ourselves so much and to do some goddamn research and to act. And maybe I do agree that it was a missed opportunity for her. I don't know if she was fully prepared to explain why colored is the way that she identifies. I think that she's been in the limelight for quite some time now. So media training hits different. She has probably some new tools in her tool belt. And that's obviously, I won't say obviously, that space, the Breakfast Club itself, doesn't feel like the safest space to actually have that conversation. I will say I rewatched Charlemagne and I did hear him say, you know, school us on that, educate us on that, which he presented it in a way where it's like, put us on the game. Her team, though, however, had already given them questions where they were like, do not ask about this. And of course, they wanted to ask about it. And there's a reason why. And I don't think it's because she's anti-Black. I don't think it's because she's anti anything. I think it's because she's a young girl figuring it out, trying to be marketable to everybody with a whole lot of ears. Or excuse me, a whole lot of voices in her head telling her what to do, what not to do. At this point, she's a product. She's not even a human being. You know, she's a machine within capitalism making the money. So she very clearly clamped up and turned around with confidence, you know, where she's like, I'm not going to be the bad guy. Y'all got it. And I don't have a problem with that. I really, it's exhausting for folks here in America, Black Americans, to have such a disconnect to the continent, to have the diaspora wars makes me sick. The xenophobia makes me sick. And we have to start doing some real work on ourselves, in my opinion, and we have to read. Google is available. You know, you can figure out why she said it. And honestly, she even said she didn't want to say that she was colored because she understands that the United States has a history with that word and she wants to be sensitive, even though that is, if I'm not mistaken, colored is like a legal term in South Africa, right? Like you actually mark it
I
off.
was playing her exact
Yeah, it is.
her exact
Like
her exact statement was, oh, I'll let you
no,
finish
I
after
just
that.
don't get it. I'm done. And that, Dom, I'm not trying to push back. I'm just trying to offer like a different perspective of how
I don't believe the
exhausting
thing I
that
just
could
said.
be.
I would add in the conversation.
I love you.
I don't believe anything
Come
I
on,
just
get
said.
the people going.
I love that.
He said, I'm about to be provocative. You're welcome,
love
Olay.
that.
Tyla's exact statement that she put out after, she said, you guys, I never deny my Blackness. I don't know where that came from. I'm mixed with Black, Zulu, Irish, Mauritian, Indian, and colored. In South Africa, I would be classified as a colored woman. In other places, I would be classified as a Black woman. Race is classified differently in different parts of the world. I don't expect to be identified as colored outside of South Africa by anyone not comfortable doing so, because I understand the weight of that word outside of South Africa. But to close this conversation, I'm both colored in South Africa and a Black woman. As a woman for the culture, it's and not or. With that being said, you know,
which brings me to my point that I don't think that was the problem. I think, as with a lot of people in the limelight, they turn into proxy wars for people's discourse. That's what I think it is. Honestly, I'm so tired. I'm so tired and bored of it. I am, because it's just like this ring around the rosy of diaspora wars that happens all the time. All of it is all, if we really got to the nitty gritty, like Deshaun, you just said, all of it is fake and made up anyways to classify like it, you know what I mean? And it's hard for me. There was a moment where I just had to like remove myself from even having feelings about it, because it's so, no one, it seems like nobody, and by nobody I mean the greater society, wants to actually have like meaningful discussion and move past. They want to use people as proxy wars. I also find it, though I can understand the people's feelings like across the board, I find it weird to tell folks how they I have an iffy relationship. I have a weird relationship about the like telling folks how they like identifying is a very personal thing.
Mm-hmm.
It feels just sticky. It feels sticky to be like, because I perceive you this way, this is now your identity, and rather it being like, oh, I perceive you this way. Like perception, though important, perception though mattering as far as like how you interact with the world, how the world interacts with you, the intersections of privilege and marginalization, it matters. I don't know how I feel about people saying one's perception should now become their identity. And that's come from, I when in this discussion, I take a lot of my own personal experiences of traveling and studying abroad and being like someone across the diaspora, where I'm often getting called different diasporic identities. That was my own kind of like perception of myself. I had to ask those questions like, well, it doesn't mean that my identity is not the same just because I'm perceived this way. And other folks' perception of me does have some space in the discussion about how the world interacts with me. But I don't know if that can be conflated with identity.
That's
I don't
such
know.
a great
Sean,
point.
I mean, like to Christina's point as well, like having to like assimilate or pander to, to pander to what someone else what box someone else thinks you should fit in. I think anyone that's been to South Africa or spent time around South African people, colored people literally have their own culture.
Mm-hmm.
Colored people have their own culture. They have their own music, their own language, like very specific ways in which they like Tyla can show up in the Bahamas and she'd be a Black woman or a mixed woman, and in the States, yeah, okay, like maybe she looks Black. But in South Africa, being colored and mixed are two completely different things. They're absolutely two completely different things. And so for her to have to make a statement where she says it's and not or, that still feels almost that it feels so dehumanizing in a way, because now she has to literally tear apart a literal thing in which, and keep in mind, she was, I think, 19 or 20 at the time. Who on this distinguished panel could have talked?
Please.
Who among us could have aptly like really described ourselves as fully embodied people? Like who? Like how? You know what I mean? Like she was 19 at the time when she made that statement. And so you go from a place, you're known as, you are colored, your culture is colored, your family is colored, you're embedded in this thing, and now you have a group of people saying you don't want to be Black, you're appropriating our culture in this way, you don't want to be Black. And you say, well, can you give me an example of the ways in which I'm appropriating said culture? Because this girl has never changed her accent. She's always indicated that she wants to put modern South African music on the map. All right. She like her music is Amapiano. She literally speaks in her mother tongue and if you go in any of the videos, whether it's Vogue, Elle, whatever, you have South Africans in the comments literally saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe she said that," like using her own version of slang. And I think a great thing that we honestly need to be able to discuss is there's this sudden wave in the past 2, 3, maybe 5 years. There's this sudden wave of mostly Americans telling other Black members of the diaspora how they should identify and how they should show up, and wielding Blackness as this privilege that they can give. That you are Black because I told you are Black. You are not Black because I told you are Black. And I think there needs to be an honest to God conversation on how American exceptionalism often transcends race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that some of it is because Black Americans have been forced to assimilate to American culture, that now we see Blacks from across the diaspora come here and be like, you got to do what we did. You got to get in line. Do you think that's some of it?
I don't even think that's it. You know what I think it is? Because the myth that has been told is that Black Americans are the only sufferers of these kinds of atrocities. That's a myth. So when you talk about Black Americans feel as if others should assimilate in the ways that they have. To go to the Bahamas is so similar. It's the culture is so similar to being English. Like the Bahamas is literally a tropical England in the way we in our mannerisms, in our law, in the way that we speak to one another. We literally open meetings by saying protocol established. Protocol being established. Those are vestiges of colonization. And just because we don't have the same names as the things that Black Americans would have dealt with within America, we have our own versions of subjugation as Black people. But the very difference is the American part of Black Americans. Every member of the diaspora has had to learn what being Black in America is and learn that history. And there has never been a reverse of that. There's never been a reverse of that. We mentioned that Charlemagne said, well, school us. How often has a Black American had to go into a majority white space and be upset that they had to school white people about why certain things were microaggressions? And we're asking the same thing of another foreign perceived Black woman? Come on. Come on.
Yeah. Absolutely, sis.
They go right in the comments and you ain't tell one lie.
Listen, that's
they pulling clips.
That's what I think. It's so tricky because you know what? I'm so proud to be Black, right? I'm so proud of it. I cherish it. I'm grateful. There's no other space that I want to occupy. I'm like, this is my space, right? Also, I am so clear about how that construct is put there to limit us and to say, all of you are one thing. All of you are the same. And I don't need to humanize you further than that. You're Black. And that's that. You know, there's no space for nuance. There's no space for just like any kind of like even now, like what something that I was talking about earlier was like, well, what is Black? We get into this notion of like what Blackness is, what does it mean to be Black? And of course we've had this conversation numerous times, but it's like, it's not a monolith. And we say that when it's convenient, but we treat it like it is. You know, we gatekeep like it is. You know, if there is a Comic-Con Black, he's different. He acts a different kind of way, maybe. You know, like, and so then when you have this other, you know, woman, South African colored woman come over and sing, because she can sing. First of all, she's incredibly talented, and sing and be a star. You know, she knows who she is. And I got to be honest, I think that feels really threatening to a lot of folks, to a lot of Americans here, because a lot of us don't. You know, we're given a history that is very limited, and we aren't challenged to oftentimes go and try to understand anything further than that. We aren't challenged or encouraged to learn about the diaspora. I couldn't tell, like somebody was telling me the other day about all of the different Caribbean islands and who colonized what. And I was so ashamed that I was like, yo, I actually don't know who colonized each one of these islands. And like, I didn't realize that Jamaicans love tea because of Britain. Like I didn't put that the together, but like I should. So you know, like I should know that. Why don't I know that? But I know like other random dumb American shit that's like not serving me. So I don't know. I'm always in this weird place. I don't know if I'm articulating myself well, of like being super proud of being Black, but then also understanding that like this shit is a tool for them at the same time. And I can't wrap my head around the two things.
And I think to shoot you some bail, right? I think there is an experience as an immigrant, what Ashley was saying about, you know, different members of the diaspora having to come in and learn what it means to be Black in America. Right. That's the Black immigrant experience. Like being a Black immigrant requires you because you've come here. But in general, right, in general, in the same way that we're talking about, Black Americans being aware of their own Black American experience, but not other people's and other people's history, the same is true of the other Black people sitting within their Black nations, right? Because in the Bahamas, to what I realized, I remember in America, my freshman year of college, when they went to have me take African American studies, and I was like, I gotta take this. Like dumb, 17, stupid. Like, oh, I gotta take this. I'm Black. Like being Black by osmosis taught me something, right? Like, and then like in teaching and going to that class, that's when you realize, oh, I actually don't know shit about being Black or Black history, because I actually don't know absolutely nothing. And then in the course of that, right, like now at 32, it's like, oh, I've studied Black American history, and so I know Black American history. But even though being a Bahamian, I was born and raised in the Bahamas or whatever, I don't know Bahamian history or Bahamian. I can't speak to Bahamian history the same way I can speak to Black American history, because this is what I've studied. You know what I mean? This is versus what we're told. What we're actually taught from the schools is nothing. Like when I think back to what I was taught about Bahamian history in Bahamian schools, the result, the same way Black Americans aren't being taught Black American history by a colonized structure that doesn't want you to know it for good reason, right? Because they don't want you to be educated. They don't want you to be able to resist X, Y, Z. It's the same thing in the Bahamas, right? Like I remember reading my textbook, Making It the Bahamas, whose crimes should Making It the Bahamas wrote in the book like slavery wasn't that bad in the Bahamas. You know what I mean? Luckily for Bahamians, they were lazy, and so they were given their freedom without a fight. That's in the book, in the textbook. That's what they taught you in the school. In school, that was the answer to the test. You say anything else, F. You see what I'm saying? So I said it to say, I wish we all had this understanding. I feel like when I see the internet, right? Something I experienced in America, I'm constantly, and I'm not gonna make this about my life experience as somebody who's African and Caribbean on this internet here or whatever, and how you're perceived by Black Americans who feel a way about that, and this and the next thing, right? But something I wish we understood was, in the same way I know that it would be ridiculous to make Clarence Thomas and the worst coonish Black American I could find representative of Black Americans, that would be ridiculous. And I know that that's ridiculous. And I understand why not every Black American is a Black American history scholar and knows all these things and we're all working through a certain level of internalized anti-Blackness. I wish the same respect would be, everybody would realize the same is also true. You can't pick you will know, everybody will know a million Africans and only pick the African that say something anti-Black American, you know what I mean, to represent all Africans. And same thing for Caribbeans, and same thing for all these people. I wish we would understand that Black people all across the globe have been colonized, have been force-fed anti-Blackness, and so we all wield and weaponize it against one another. Like, I wish we would stop. You're going to see people in the comments breaking their ankle to tell you, but no, I met Africans and they said this about us and they said that. And I'm like, I wish you would understand that there's coons among us all. You know what I mean? Like, please, for the love of God, stop trying to make it seem like one of these Black people are just magically more anti-Black than the other. The other one is the true Black and the other one is true. No. Ignorant niggas among us all.
That's anti-Black in and of itself, I think.
Yeah.
To go try to take the worst of the bunch, right? And be like, oh, and that's the representative. It's you're making the worst of the bunch the monolithic. That's also monolithic.
It's also intentional. But for me, I think what feels really annoying about this conversation, that like just generally, is that people talk about race as if it's this thing that's like matter of fact, as if it's like, as if it's not this socio-political construct designed to function in the way that it does, right? And so for me, I'm like, if race is like this political position, if it's this like decision you are actively making or that has been actively placed on you, then like, why are we talking about it as if it's something that you can like go and just like pull up numbers to support? Like, like people sound like race scientists when they talk about Blackness in particular. And I'm like, do we want to talk about chattel slavery? Because if we do, then like a lot of folks are using the very same logics that were used to legitimize chattel slavery to put us in the position where we have to even talk about ourselves as Black people, right? Like, or to even talk about ourselves as people who are part of these countries with borders, that as if those are things that are just innate to us, as if those are things that like that we just were born into, and just we just decided like, hey, we want to be a part of this place that has borders that defines us by the color of our skin, and that's just going to be what it's going to be. And it's like, that's not how race works.
Deshaun, you talking about some shit that people ain't ready to actually deconstruct.
But it's
We're really like, we're not
Hands up.
even there. No, like, because if we got it, even ethnicity, even like people also being able to understand that, like, yeah, I can identify, I'm Black American and I'm proud of the culture, and realize, yeah, that shit's made up though. I'm the product of where I am. You could even the color, like, yeah, color too. The critiques when people talk about that, I'm like, yeah, and then we can dig further, and yeah, well, Black Americans and ethnicity, right? Exactly, and Bahamian is one of two. Okay, well, if we really broke it all down, all this is made up, but people can't. I think people acknowledging that it's all made up and it was all a construct used against us makes them feel like that there can no longer be pride in that, or not pride in it being used against us, but the pride that has come from it, the pride that has had to come from it, and the survival where our ancestors had to make something out of it. You know what I mean? They had to reclaim something.
And that's sort of my, I'm sorry, actually, just really quick, I want to say, like, that's the thing for me is like, babes, nobody is taking away the fact that we've created a bunch of culture out of some shit. Like, we've had to create, I promise I'm not taking that away from us. And also, like, we have to acknowledge that it was still the shit that led us here. Like, and until we're able to be real and clear about that, like, we're going to continue to have conversations about whether or not Tyler gets to produce music in the States, and then we start having conversations around whether or not Tyla is mimicking Rihanna or if she's mimicking Beyonce, and then we start talking about, well, Rihanna is this and Beyonce is this. And listen, like, if we're gonna have a conversation,
she's really Aaliyah's child, but okay.
Now if we want to get into the music, now I'm ready to get into the music, but no, like, my only point, and then I want to pass it to Ashley. My only point is just like, we have to be much more clear about the grounds on which race is created, sustained, and discussed if we're going to be honest about why Tyla is engaged the way that she is, which I agree with Ashley is about xenophobia, and largely about anti-Blackness in the ways that we don't want to contend with this sort of global phenomenon that is anti-Blackness.
I think Ash, I'm gonna let you talk. I'm gonna just say two things. I think xenophobia, I think why people like xenophobia is because xenophobia becomes a convenient opportunity to intellectualize anti-Blackness, because people's xenophobia shows up real differently depending on the race of the immigrant. And like, people are not honest with themselves about this, but I'm going to say this. I want everybody to make sure note that whenever I use my examples or something, I'm not just talking about Black Americans. I start in the Bahamas, okay? As somebody who was born and raised in the Bahamas, right? I am Bahamian, my mommy is Bahamian, but my daddy is Nigerian. And so that allowed for a particular experience of having my daddy be an immigrant and seeing Bahamians in that way. There is a massive, when I tell you the discrimination against Haitians across the Caribbean, across the world, but I'm specifically talking about, in the Caribbean and in the Bahamas, is immense. And the way you would see, to this day, you'll see it now, to this day, go on Twitter right now, type in the Haitians, Bahamians sitting carrying on bad. Listen, the way they will carry on is like, oh, they'll make it like it's about immigrants and protecting the country and what resources and blah, 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 blah. But this hatred is only towards Haitians, and which is very interesting in a country that has been colonized to become a slave to tourists, to tourism, to where we are here to serve the tourists, right? And so here you are serving white tourists who you see as tourists, you know what I mean? They're tourists, and when they move here, they get to be expats, these white people and stuff. You don't feel that way about them. But when it's Haitians, it's these immigrants, it's these Haitians, they need to get out of there. And similarly, you will see all these people, they're not talking about, like, for all these people who act like when they want to get xenophobic towards non-American Black people, like they doing it in the name of Blackness and pro-Blackness, you don't got shit to say about these white immigrants and what white people are doing and how white people are emerging, how they let in, nothing about that. But all this hate and vitriol is reserved for non-American Black people, and there's a way that we don't reckon with where that is really coming from. We don't unpack it. People just leap to, they get offended. It's funny, they'll get offended when you say, and I see it every time. Anytime anybody's trying to point out that this is xenophobia towards non-American Black, it's like, no, like as though we can't be. Where I see people take this thing as kind of offense, like affront that you see like white people carry on when they're called racist, like no one can't be da 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 to being called xenophobic. Meanwhile, I think it's much more than xenophobia. It's anti-blackness. I think xenophobia is just what's tolerated. People will allow it because they're quick to intellectualize. Well, I don't like immigrants. I had this bad experience. I don't have this in my country, so they shouldn't have this, and blah 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 blah. And they come up with all these things, and you will see the most educated of people tripping over themselves to believe anything that justifies why they should other kinds of Black people. And I'm going to let Ashley talk, but I wanted to remind you because I wanted to give you a chance to get back to it, Deshaun, after Ash. Christina had said something earlier about perception and the problem with feeling like people's perception matters more and we get to choose how they identify and this and the next thing. And I know you have a song in your heart. I can see your face. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity to think that over so you could reply to that after Ashley finished. You see people moderating.
Irritating, yo.
The quote, any women moderator. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. No, my issue honestly was to touch a little bit on the relationship between Bahamians and Haitians, because for me, I think my issue with scholarship is how people can spend like their entire lives behind like this wall, and they can study it from behind this wall, and the people that these studies impact, they never act like it. The scholarship never gets to where it needs to go, right? So how do we disseminate these tools? How do people then start to deconstruct their relationship with race, their relationship with xenophobia / anti-Blackness, right? Because I think about 2019 when Hurricane Dorian hit through the Bahamas, sat over Grand Bahama for a total of 48 hours, completely wiped out the island of Abaco. They are still dealing with massive amounts of just they need everything. But in Abaco, there's a there's a section in Abaco called the Mud. Abaco has a good population of Haitians. And what I found to be I don't identify, on paper, I am not a rich Bahamian. I am not. But socially, I have social capital. I'm not a rich Bahamian. And so in my mind, I'm like, I don't have no money to be doing X, Y, and Z and buying this amount of grocery and stuff. But it was wild to me that there were Haitians in Abaco who were afraid to be evacuated from a literal war zone because they thought they were going to be deported. They thought that they were going to be deported. And yeah, before that, I didn't need this come to Jesus moment to be like, oh my gosh, as a white woman, I feel who I am and I recognize my privilege. I didn't need that moment to like get me to that point. But it really washed over me in this crazy wave. That in this space, I am still more privileged. I am still more privileged than the people who gave everything on the front line, just on the front lines of freedom within the region.
Which is the fundamental disrespect of Haitians. We must touch up.
It's crazy. It's crazy how Bahamians were raised and socialized to think that I can't even say, "Oh my gosh, you're Haitian," because even in the back of my mind, I think Haitian is an insult. Like the word Haitian, has you were raised to think that word Haitian is an insult. Oh, you look like a Haitian. Oh, you look like
assume you're asking it because you plan to if they say yes that you're gonna be stink to them. They assume
you about to be stink. And so I guess I guess the thing that I try to grapple with and my biggest level of frustration is how do we deconstruct this? I mean, all of us are in our own various ways trying to do this on whatever intellectual level. Christina mentioned some people ain't there yet. A lot of people ain't there yet. Antoinette say these ain't reading. Like, so like what we so like how do we take this scholarship? Lami's known me for a long time. I've been literally barred out of like as a result of like finances. I have been barred out of higher education as a result of finances. These things are behind walls. So how do we take this scholarship and make it model? Because at the end of the day, we just writing shit. We just writing shit so it could get dusty, and we could be able to quote at random and be like, yeah, that's an intellectual right there. Yeah. So I personally just want to know, because I tired of these ring around the rosy conversations about like I would know how to tell my mommy, hey, stop that shit. I want to know, and I want her to be able to know how to tell her church folk to, hey.
I think we have to examine our own prejudices. And let me say what I mean by that. Because that's how we examine prejudice that we don't like. You know what I mean? Like, we examine prejudice. We do a lot of examine prejudice. But prejudice that we like, no, I don't like them for this reason or the next reason or whatever, we don't. We don't examine. We don't sit down and say, this is a prejudice, so it must be bad. Therefore, I should figure out how to deconstruct this and where it comes from. We go, well, I have this prejudice, and I'm this kind of person or whatever, so I must have legitimate reasons for why I feel this. And we come up with a school of thought to justify that prejudice. And I think the best place to start is, we're not going to be able to get every piece of information to everybody about everything and explain it, but we can give people the tool of, you should examine, you should want to, let me not say examine, you should want to deconstruct your own prejudices. Like, if you have a prejudice, you should know that regardless of how you feel about it, how strongly you feel about it, how justified it feels to you, you should have a goal that you should deconstruct prejudices. I think that feel like a good jumping off to me.
I feel like we just need better propagandas. A few months ago, I was on this show. We was talking about why Dr. Umar is bad is for like the culture, and I think as like the lead Black voice of like a coalition building between Black people, he's a bad example. Now I don't know what exactly that like. I can't picture him. I don't know what he sounds like. I don't know where he's from, but I know that the person that I'm describing has to be somebody who is intersectional in nature, and that includes Black people of all identities and across cultures. But also he has to be he also has to speak the language of the native tongue. I've been up here quiet for like the last 25 minutes because y'all speaking words that I know, but not all of them. So I'm so like I'm listening like, yo, I know a lot of these words. Some of these I don't, but I get the general gist, right? I read a book or three, you know what I'm saying? But also I know that there is who are have less time and less know-how on how to get the information. So when I say that we need better propaganda, like I think that we did like one of my crusades on the internet is like, well, like how do I make the information as simple as possible for somebody to get? Ashley said this. Ashley, right? I won't say name. She said that all this information, all this scholarship is behind paywalls, and I think it was designed to be that way. It is purposely set up that way. So I think that as us right here on this panel, let's mock up together just the perfect person.
Shooting people when y'all say panel.
Well, to be honest,
that's a joke.
like...
No, we know it's a joke. No, we know it's a joke. But you gotta tell them.
But nobody laughed. I said it. Nobody laughed. So I had to keep going.
But you were speaking facts. That's why. You were dead ass speaking facts.
I was saying with me, everybody. Podcast.
No.
This is a podcast. No. They are coming on the show. The show. Like this is a show, baby. You watching this on a device. This is not academia. This is not a panel. This is just 5 educated. They happen to be smart. They just feel it's a show. Y'all don't call the Joe Budden podcast a panel. Show me the same respect.
I like that Joe Budden is your
example.
But Joe Budden, they're like Joe Budden, like every time.
No, I'm like, wait, why? Like listen, I'm sorry, intermission, y'all on Educated. We can come right back to it. I know just where we were. Dawn propaganda. They showing you talk about perception, okay, and identification. I know where he is. Listen.
Okay,
Don, where are you from?
Sorry.
Oh my God.
Wait, Dom, where are you from?
Yeah. Philly.
I'm from Philly. I knew it. I heard it and was like, yes.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
I think that what you said is so important. I think like, yes, chef's kiss. I don't know if I'd call it propaganda, but I do think that there is an elitist approach to some of these conversations that folks tune out because people don't have time. They got bills and they got problems. And then they have joy. And it ain't a whole lot of time for all this other bullshit. And so I completely feel you on that. And speaking of the Joe Budden podcast, I think that's why a Mark Lamont Hill is so important on there, right? Because he can kind of shape shift. Now he's being tricky sometimes, and we can leave that alone. But I'm very proud of the work that he's, I hope, trying to do over there. With that said, Dom, I think that you are a perfect example. So like, you are speaking the language. There is language here, and I think that like you kind of opened up with maybe being a provocateur, which good for ratings. Good job by you. But I think that you are hip to game, and I think that you're like, you know what? This whole, all I know is that the disconnect between immigrants, between Africans, between Black folks here, it doesn't work. And like, you got to understand that it's like the same thing within this American country, right? Where it's like all this disconnect, and you got to realize that we all poor. Okay. So we all in that bucket. So let's just all get it together and understand that the powers that be want us to be divided in this kind of way. And then once that is established, then maybe people get more curious and start to listen a little more. But the ears are automatically closed because all I think a lot of folks, all they hear is, oh, she ain't want to be Black. Well, fuck her then.
Exactly.
Can I say something?
It's exhausting.
On behalf of Olay and Friends, unfairly petite bourgeoisie earned reputation. let me just say this. Because, and this ain't you after that. I'm like, let me just people always like, because this is something I think about all the time. Whenever people talk to me about like my content on Olay and Friends or whatever it is, they talk to me as though like, you need to be like dumbing it down or this is the next thing or whatever to reach people and yada, yada, yada. But what I always find interesting about that is to me, it's like, I almost feel like we've been tricked a little bit, because when I hear like the kind of like what people want you to like replicate or what they like, they'll convince you you're not reaching people. Meanwhile, the numbers and audience and stuff says that you are. And the kind of like people they'll tell you to gravitate towards or like what kind of content or whatever you should be doing or how the conversation should be being had. Like they convince you that Black people can only receive a certain kind of conversation. Black people can only receive a certain kind of rhetoric. Black people cannot like participate in that and keep up. But when I look and see what they tell you you are supposed to be making or what it like how want to be spoken to and understand, the numbers ain't there, the audience ain't there, the impact is not there. So I say to say like, I have found, you know, like a year ago, I had a framework like, oh, do I need to, are we talking like so much above people and blah, blah, blah? And I don't think so, you know what I mean? I don't think so. I think there is something like how entertainment, I think we talked about this in is Black Media in Crisis episode of Olay and Friends like a year ago. I think there's something about people are always trying to push Black any kind of like Black content creation, Black work, Black anything into being a way like, oh, this is what Black people will resonate with. This is what, you know what I mean? It's this, is that. And I've noticed that because I found that a lot of people who said similar things about Olay and Friends can love a Mark Lamont Hill in the Joe Budden podcast. Suddenly you see the value of that. Meanwhile,
I do think the difference is that I think Mark Lamont Hill is adding the intellectualness to a space that was already full of niggas. So I think it got come in doses, right? This show is just, for lack of a better word, how many of us? 1, 2, 3, six Negroes sniff each other assholes about ideas we all understand and we all know. And I'm not saying that because I'm up here sniffing my butthole too. Like, no, we smart as but I do think that like we have to like. But
that's perception. There have been more than 100 on Olay and Friends.
I know. Listen,
but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That is the way people decide. Like they decide what they want a space to be. Dom sits in this. Dom is not a random in the space. There's Dom in the space, and there's other people like Dom in the space. There's all kind of other like that or whatever. But they will never be. They're never treated as though they're actually in the space. They're treated as like they're, you know what I mean? Like they're insert like their USB devices in the spaces. Otherwise, this thing and their inserts, rather than like recognizing the true blending of a space. They're like
that's the value system, right? Even the idea of, even when we're saying, people are telling you, you know, you gotta dumb it down. There's a value system in place there. There's nothing about dumbing anything down. It's about a different approach because there's nothing dumb about it. And that drives me crazy because that is the elitism that people are putting onto the show, that people are, that we are all, you know, conditioned to believe as well. The scholarship, that a certain kind of education is of higher value because it's connected to capital. When in actuality, we all know that some of the most intelligent, most steadfast, sturdy, innovative people are the folks that are not in academia. Okay? They're the folks that are creating and really like getting their hands dirty and like giving the world incredible art, incredible like vision. And so it just drives me crazy. But like, anyway, that's an aside.
And already
it just
adopting like it's just word, like, I don't know, this, I appreciate you saying that it's not done, like the dumbing down. It's like there are people that are saying the same things. You could have a person who might not know the definition of socialism or whatever, but they're doing the values in their community, in their hood. You know what I'm saying?
And
like,
how smart are you if you can't go into another space and actually articulate your point to a demographic of people? If you don't have that skill set, then your value drops.
And it came.
We have to stop assuming that people don't understand us. That is something I think that is what I'm saying. Is I think is the like where we see it's like this constant. Who told us that don't understand us? That's what I'm saying. It's like, as somebody who have the show, like, I'm not hearing that. You know what I mean? From the audience, that's not what I'm getting. I'm seeing the gambit of the audience, but I'm saying that's something we kind of implicitly believe, and it's something because it's something that we are covertly taught. You know what I mean? We're always being told anytime a Black person of a particular type or a particular, you speak like this or you explain this or you sound smart. Because like realistically, we ain't saying no bunch of oldie crazy things on this episode. I ain't heard no bunch of big words for Elmo. You know what I mean? I didn't hear all of that. So
not really.
But you know what I mean? But you're covertly taught to believe that you're always, you know what I mean? That if I'm trying to speak to Black people, that I up here being lofty, and that's all I'm saying is that we shouldn't assume, you know what I mean? That it is it's a bougie elitist way of thinking when we assume. Oh, I so smart.
Well,
they ain't understand me.
I
gotta figure out.
But also, go ahead.
They are.
I was about to say, but also I know these in real life. Like these niggas, like these niggas is like my brothers. These niggas like guys I grew up with. Like I know these guys, and Olay gotta bleed me so much because I'm saying the N word. But I know these guys, right? And when I be trying to like, for example, like I was trying. I'm a Democrat. I am a Democrat socialist. I joined. I be going to the meetings and all that. It's kind of fun. And I was trying to tell my brother, I'm like, yo, bro, you should like come. Like it's from that we doing some good work because my brother, he is a construction worker. And I'm like, yo, they be like working with unions and all that. I think it's good for you to find out. I send him the newsletter. He was like, bro, I don't know what the they saying. And I'm like, oh, you don't. I'm like, I forgot my brother read at an 8th grade level. And that's not his fault. That's the school system. So now I'm sitting down with him trying to be like, all right, bro, so here's how we like, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, I know Lay's like, yo, well, my audience is like, they get it. But it's like,
what I want to say is I never started nobody with a Democratic Socialist of America meeting. This is the problem with like you. Don't put you like, when I didn't do that. I came here and said, come talk about Tyler. No one gives me my credit. Pop culture.
I'm trying to fix.
No, you see the difference between me and these
I'm trying to fix niggas.
Telling me I need to communicate to the regular. He want to give me Democrat Socialist of
America.
You
might have ate that.
I'm trying to help.
The lawyer and
which one of us is communicating with the people?
You just ate that up, Olay.
I'm trying to help you.
You ate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Y'all are hilarious. Y'all are hilarious.
Go.
We start talking about xenophobia. How much far is that from socialism? We talking about big ideas anyway. Like,
not very far at all. I as someone who is an author, I think about this a lot, right? Because I think that people start talking about like what is and is not accessible without understanding the context that most people are coming to like these conversations with. In America, I think the national average for reading level is 4th grade, right? That means that most things that we're saying on this call, most people in the US do not understand, right? Like, and Olay, please, I'm trying.
I said, no, you got me. What I can say?
What can I say?
What can I say? Like, 4th grade.
Like that's how bad our education system is, and that's where we're having to meet people. So for me, like when I wrote my first book, I was like, most authors do these, these book tours where they go and talk to other people who already know what they're talking about. Cool. I have done those too, but I also will go to like different organizing meetings. I'll go to different community sessions and sit down and talk with folks. I'm not getting paid for that work. I don't need to get paid for that work, because what matters to me is that, similar to what Antoinette just named, is that I'm able to be in different spaces and articulate the point that I'm trying to make in a way that folks can understand, because that's how you bring folks up. But what I don't want to do, I'm never invested in dumbing things down, because I don't think that makes the conversation accessible. I think our job as folks who understand the things that we're talking about is to bring people up, to invite people into the language that best articulates what it is that they're experiencing and what it is that they're thinking, right? Using language that exists on a fourth grade level is not the most precise language to be able to articulate our experiences in the world. Mm-hmm. However, I can start with that language to invite, I'm not gonna lie, I can't start with fourth grade level language. However, I can start with I can start with language that's not necessarily academic, to be able to invite people into a larger conversation that allows for us to have deeper discussion on what we're talking about. But to Dom's point about propagandists, I actually really love that word and really agree that we need more of those. One of my best friends sent me this picture today that was made by Media Matters for America, where they did a juxtaposition of the largest right-leaning platforms and the largest left-leaning platforms. The largest following for folks on the right is Joe Rogan, of course, with 40 million followers, right? The largest for folks on the quote unquote left is Trevor Noah with 21. That's not even considering the fact that Trevor Noah ain't even nobody's real left leaning nothing. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? So like the next biggest, y'all, is the Breakfast Club. But that's where we are. Yeah, it's like Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro, Candace Owen, Jordan B. Peterson. Like, these are the folks who the right have, and our folks on the quote unquote left are Trevor Noah and the Breakfast Club. Like, we don't have folks who are able to even bring people into these conversations because they're doing some bullshit like what they doing. Go ahead, Dom.
I do think somebody I watch a lot of right wing content because I think it's funny. But here's what I think they're good at. They're good at it's really funny. You should watch sometimes. You just go watch Tucker Carlson. That's hilarious.
I know, no, baby.
But here's I think they're good at. I think they are like very good at telling the people what they want to hear and not what they need to hear. And I think that's where the right wins. Like, the right wins because they're not actually expressing ideas or pushing anything that matters. They're just,
that's facts,
like, fear mongering. They're just like, yo, the cats are eating your dogs. And I think that's enough. But on the left, like, we're like it's hard to fear monger, like, brother, rent is too high. Like, yeah, I know. If I'm going to work, I'm like, okay, hold on. All right, you got me there. Hold on.
The left loses because they don't know what game. I think the left loses because they don't know what game we're playing. So what you're saying, right? We need propagandists. I agree. Propagandists do not show up and tell you, hey, I'm here to politically educate you. They show up and they say, I'm here to entertain you. I'm here to do this other thing with you. I'm here to this with you. That's how they spin you, right? Like, you ever heard the stories? Bill Burr have a joke about how he just want to be playing ball with his son, downloading his thoughts onto his son. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just throwing his ball, just telling him everything but the world. That's how it really works. And what happens is, and this is a thing, when you go look at who goes into leftists, everybody in the left want to be the news. Everybody in the left want to be the news, wants to continue replicating dying or dead art forms. Meanwhile, everybody on the left, think about it, even who you just called as the second, Trevor Noah, mainstream, dying left, dying mode of TV, the Breakfast Club, radio, dying shit. And then when you get in there, you can find a bunch of other dying leftist replicas and people who done left mainstream news and went on to the thing. Meanwhile, when you go over to the right, what you're going to get? Streamers and podcasters and YouTubers and all these people who understand it's entertainment. The left I think if there's one thing, is the left is wants to be so intellectually goddamn pure, wants to be so, you should listen to me because I'm what you should listen to. I'm what you should want to learn. I'm what you should. This is entertainment. You want to educate, you have to figure out how to do it entertainingly. And that's what people don't get. That's why they keep calling this a panel and not a show. It's a show. That's why you watched it. You didn't watch no panel. Ask yourself what's the last academic panel you watched. Yeah, no, you know what? The thing about the difference between like the difference between intellectuals on the left and whatever they got going on the right, and I agree with Dom. I love watching what the right got going on. I know for real. Like you have to know the nature of the beast. You gotta know what they saying. You gotta know their talking points. The difference between the left and the right, and listen, I got no data for this, okay? So this just vibes right now, right? This is where this turned into a podcast setup.
Yeah, come on, fill us up with facts. Now we doing right way talking points. Let's do it.
So if we can combine, like, okay, walk with me just for a little bit, all right? Give me a second. Okay, so if we got this, if you walk with me. So if we got like if we got the baseline of all audiences, right? And if we saying that all of these audiences have a reading level, have a 4th grade reading level across, let's just say across the board. Let's not divide them just yet, right?
Yeah.
Let's not divide them just yet. Across the board, they all got 4th grade reading levels, right? The right know what they got to do, like Olay said, like Dante, like all y'all said. The pandering now, right? They telling you all the things that you need to say. They telling you who you need to be upset with. They telling you need to be upset with immigrants and other people. You need to be upset with. You need to be upset with porn that look just like you. All right. Then you have on that same baseline, right? People who lean more to the left because they was raised in proper homes, and they know on a base level that there's some morality that they need to have, right? And the reason why I feel why anti-intellectualism has taken such a massive turn in these past couple of years is because intellectuals on the left have wielded education like it's a baton or some tiara in a Russian court pre-Civil War, right? Like they that's literally what they do. They love what Dom say, smelling my booty hole, and I'm smart too. Every left intellectual want to be the next James Baldwin.
And no shade, and actually full shade. We talking about dumbing things down and not understanding things. Some of the people using the words don't understand it either. So, no. Some of the people
do not understand what cultural appropriation means.
Weaponizing the words do not understand the concepts, and you can find somebody who might not know the word but understands the concept. And when you really realize that, it's kind of just like, if you can't even say the definition in multiple different ways, and I guess it's more similar, I would say, to like code switching in a way. Like, can you explain this in many different types of languages in different types of rooms? Because there is a way that like people will use and weaponize language to be like, I'm saying it in this fancy schmancy way and putting the sentence together like this to excommunicate folks from being able to understand what I'm saying. But sometimes it's really mumbo jumbo, and they throw words together, and you're like, oh, you actually don't understand what it is that you're saying. You're parroting the words. And blowing smoke up other people's behinds, including your own.
They in the comments talking about Tyla, saying she anti-Black.
I was about to say, speaking of Tyla and cultural appropriation and not understanding what words means, have y'all noticed everybody thinks cultural appropriation means copying?
Yes.
Like this is to Sean's point about the problem about dumbing things down when those are not the words to best explain. People think cultural appropriation means copying. And I realized that when I saw that bullshit racist straw man where people were like, this is okay, whatever, talking about Sydney Sweeney had, but this is it's okay for Beyonce. It was Piers Morgan's racist ass who said it was okay for Beyonce to culturally appropriate Marilyn Monroe, and everybody responded by being like, Marilyn Monroe stole Ella from Dorothy Dandridge, which is true and all of that. But that, I'm like, y'all ain't even addressing the fact that this is a straw man argument. Cultural appropriation does not mean copying. You cannot culturally appropriate off white people. Cultural appropriation specifically refers to taking aspects of a culture that they have been demonized, vilified for, and have not been able to commoditize themselves. Taking those aspects.
Let's start there.
On God. So taking aspects of a culture that have been traditionally demonized for, vilified for, and excluding XYZ and taking it and commoditizing it. That's why commodifying it. That's why when you see it's like our nails, our braids, I hear all these different things about us that have been treated as ghetto and kept out of the workplace and you're discriminated against. That's why when they take that, that's cultural appropriation. It's cultural appropriation for you to not be able to wear your braids at your job, but for Kim Kardashian to start calling them boxer braids and making money. That's what cultural appropriation is. Cultural appropriation is not just copying. That's not what it means. And the fact that I
having inspiration,
thousands of people in this argument on the internet and nobody pointed out that, whoa, this is a straw man. I said, oh Jesus, nobody knows nothing.
But that's the thing, though. I think it's important. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just I told you 2 weeks ago to bring back Hooked on Phonics, and you laughed at me. But things went downhill when they took Hooked on Phonics out the schools.
I think that's a great point, Olay, and I would challenge us on this call to maybe it's not our. There is a crazy storm, so if you hear that, apologies.
You hear that?
Shit, you in Brooklyn, right?
I'm here.
What's going on? But I would challenge us to actually, maybe take some time to explain that to folks, because it is by design that folks don't know, right? And it's frustrating, and I can understand that, but it's also like, well, instead of, it's very easy to be like, what the like, come on, y'all, nobody's saying this. But it's also like, all right, well, let me say it. Hey, just so y'all know, this is what this is. And then people are hip to game. And the mediums that people are learning now, unfortunately, is through short reels. And that is where they're getting their information. The attention span is very low. Who the hell knows how many people going to stay on and wait till minute or 1 hour and 4 minutes into this podcast to learn what cultural appropriation means? Clip that shit up and teach the people. That is the type of stuff that we need. And that is where I think we're meeting people where they're at. Not even dumbing it down, but being like, this is the medium. This is what you need. Cool. Here you go.
This is the thing that stresses me out about niggas. And I really gotta be real about this. A lot of things that you really need to learn cannot be taught to you quickly. Like that's the. And they're breaking my heart with that. It's like, babes, I'm so sorry. I cannot. Motherfuckers want you to tell them. If I explain to you, if I give you what is a 1 minute explanation of any concept, you're going to ask me 600 ignorant questions like that shit. Not even actually. No. Because 600, you asking me 600 questions would be fine. No, you're not. You're going to make 600 assertions about how what I taught you, what I just said to you was incomplete or doesn't make sense or is half-baked because you expect to have a complete understanding of the thing on 1 minute. It's like, I completely agree, Antoinette. I do think we got to meet people where they're at. I completely believe that. I completely agree. And we got to try and do these mediums and X, Y, Z. But they got to be like, I feel like in a teacher-student relationship, I got to be willing to teach and you got to be willing to learn. We got to be willing. I got to assign you. I got to try teaching the teaching style that works for you. But you also got to be prepared to understand, baby, you might have to do some homework.
Yes, that's such a great point, because Olay, I think most teachers know all 100 kids in my class, because that's how the classroom's built now. All 100 of y'all are not all going to get every lesson as soon as I give it to you.
I think
you might argue with me, you might be combative, but there's hopefully something that's going to spark. So maybe you'll go and share what I said, be like, ain't she dumb? And somebody else correct you. Or maybe 5 of y'all gonna get it, and then 5 of y'all gonna pass it on. Not the comment section. I don't even look at the comment section of Olay and Friends. I don't look at the comment section. Shout out to y'all. I didn't know that. Shout out to y'all.
They love you. But they think your voice is soothing.
I can't look. You want to know why? Because it's like art. Once you put it out there, it's out and it's y'all's. It's y'all's to deal with and to do with what you want. But for real, I said what I said, and the people that will call me in and keep me together, they have my contact and they will reel my ass in if I need to be reeled in. Trust and believe, because I keep those people around me. But we have to stop thinking that everybody's gonna get it. They're not all gonna get it, and we can't get frustrated. I don't always get it, but I swear to you, the impact is there. I'll go back to it. The little nuggets are there, and I'm finding them and following them. So the work that you're doing, the work that everybody's doing on this show, this podcast, okay, is invaluable to someone. So don't let the comments and all that bullshit like derail you.
Dom said, "Can I go mask off?" Antoinette said, "Let me give y'all a good, nice word." Dom said, "Let's
because I be needing them 1 minute clips."
Yeah. Can I go mask off for a second? I don't want to teach. I want to radicalize. I want to build an army of anti-capitalists. Basically, I want to build a Hasanabi heads. I want to build. That's what I want to build. I just want to build a bunch of motherfuckers who are just ready to like destroy this shit.
I don't know.
How long do you think that's going to take? How long do you think that's going to take?
An army of anti-capitalist men who ain't learned shit about nothing.
There's also
I don't want to teach people, but he's helping his brother with the pamphlet. Get out of here, bro.
Right. It's going beyond.
We don't recognize bits no more. Ladies and gentlemen, what happened?
It goes. Please.
No. I need Dom. I need you to break the plan down. Break it down. You have a white.
No more evil plans on camera. We talked about this.
Yeah. No more evil plans. I can't.
Hamas record no shit on camera until the shit was done. Okay.
Hello,
Christina. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Oh, my bad. No, I hear what you're saying. It's beyond just information, though. It's application of the information is what's super important. You could know all that you want to know. Whenever I hear, especially particularly Black Americans not understanding xenophobia or the American exceptionalism and the privilege of it there's a straight ignorance. I want to bring back the word ignorance and what it means too. People think ignorant just means you stupid or dumb, it's an insult. No, you're ignorant. You don't know. I'm ignorant about a lot of things. It truly wasn't until I saw my American passport that could be used to gain privilege outside of America that it settled in. I knew about xenophobia. I knew about American privilege. But when I feel it, I see the difference in even now, the shit that we're dealing with the government. We have our marginalizations, and me seeing the difference with the Black folks in my life who do not have an American passport or citizenship and how they're going to be treated and have been treated. Seeing that is different than knowing it. And that's not something to be ashamed about in a way where it's admitting that to be the case. Damn, I knew or I didn't know until I experienced it. And also, there's an emotional, what the fuck is the word? Maturity aspect too. A lot of people talk about being ready for revolution. That takes being ready to die.
Correct.
Shit. There's a certain type of processing and emotional realization that a lot of folks aren't ready for. Myself included. Me too. It's different knowing the shit and knowing the facts, knowing the words, knowing the concepts, and then being in the moment of it and being damn, no, am I actually ready to ride behind this shit and die for this shit? Am I ready to face this shit head on versus just reading about it? A lot of people stay too much in the books and they're not in the field. And it's different when you're in the field talking to folks about it. I honestly think it can be easier to explain a lot of this shit because you can just pull on folks' experiences and be what you're talking about, what you just experienced, that is what misogyny is. You're confused by this big word and feel like people are going to attack you, but that's what that is. And people don't also want to accept the fact that they might, back to what Olay was saying about unpacking prejudices. I don't think we haven't even got to folks, we haven't gotten to folks
acknowledging they have prejudices.
Exactly. There's so many baby steps that people, the most intellectual, academically prowess, intellectual folks, they haven't even gotten there sometimes. I don't know. You could talk to a toddler about some of this stuff and they'll understand the concept better than this adult that has 50 degrees.
So,
yeah. Because sometimes people just don't want to understand it. They don't understand. They don't want to. They don't.
I'm gonna go on a little tangent, but I promise it's relevant. So I'm a musician. A lot of people don't know that about me. I have been playing instruments, reading music since I was a kid, and I remember having one of my band directors in middle school, maybe it was high school. I don't really remember, but one of my band directors was like, "Hey, so y'all come to class for however long we were going to class at that time. I middle school and high school was long ass classes. Like, why the fuck are we here so long? And we were, and he was like, but like, some of y'all don't take your instruments home at night, and you come back the next day and you have to learn the same thing over again because you didn't take your instruments home. Why? Right? And then like my teachers in other classes would be like, I assigned this homework to y'all because we're going over these things for this certain amount of time, and y'all, like, you grasp it in class, but then you come back the next day, you didn't do your homework, you don't really know what's going on. Now we have a pop quiz and you failed because you have no idea what's happening. I feel like that is what we continue to experience in these times as people's like attention spans begin to lessen, and people are getting so much of their information from 60-second reels and TikTok videos, right? What we're experiencing is people learning how to read music, learning how to read sheet music, which is not easy at all. Like, music theory is hard. People are learning in one session, and then it leaves their brain. They don't take it home. They don't practice. They don't work on it, and they have no one at home to work on it with them. Right? Some folks, when I was a kid, they were like, "Well, I want to be able to practice at home, but I can't play my trombone out loud at home because my mama don't want to hear that." Right? Like, or I can't take this home and figure out how to actually practice this because I don't have like my environment is not conducive to my learning. And so then it leaves their brain. They have to come back the next day to learn the same thing over and over again. And they're not retaining anything. They're not learning how to actually play the instrument or learning how to actually implement the thing that they learned the day before, because there's no one there helping them, or because the environment that they live in is not conducive to their learning. And I don't think that we take that part of this seriously. Well, not we, but like, in like a broader context, that we take that part seriously. That like people, to Dom's earlier point, a lot of people are living in a space where they don't have the time, the space, the capacity, whatever, to be able to actually like grapple with a lot of this shit. If my job was not to work in media, I would not have no time to sit and read anything, like, because my whole day is consumed with my work. And I have conversations with my mama and my nana and folks back home, and they, they're so proud of me for being an author. They're like, "Oh, we're so proud that you published a book." I know for a fact most of my family has not read my book. Like I know that for a fact because they don't have time. My mama is working a full-time job and then going out and doing DoorDash at night, right? To be able to make ends meet. Like that's what our realities are right now. And so for me, I'm just like, I know that this conversation is about Tyla. And so like, I guess I'll bring it back to that a little bit, but like, for us to even be able to try to have conversations about xenophobia or about anti-Blackness or about, like perception and how we're perceived and this sort of like social construction of race and whatnot, like so many folks are unable to come to an understanding of what that even means because they don't have the time to contend with that in real time. And I think that is like,
that's why I was
what's your favorite word?
That's what I was
no,
gonna say.
but it's capitalist violence. Like that is exactly the purpose.
I unmuted the mic to say, as soon as you said the environment is not conducive, I said, no,
that is what
you're right.
anti-Black capitalism
does not. Yes, it does not create space.
It's an intentional
for
like,
this.
That's part of how the system is supposed to work, so that you don't have the room, the space, the ability to be able to learn anything that makes you want to move towards revolt. Like that's exactly what its purpose is.
Yeah. And if you mobilize, right, then you become the martyr, right? Like Dom just put that in the chat. But like, then you are struggling. Then you are,
and then
you are making, and then your death meant
That's
nothing.
the thing too.
Because the system is so well constructed. Yes. Ooh. And it's global. Ooh.
It's a global phenomenon.
And it's just killing us slowly.
And so for me, I'm just like, what we have to do. And I'm with you, because I'm like, I can't teach shit in a 1 hour or in a 1 minute time span. Like I can't do that. Like there's no way I can teach you what I need to teach you in 60 seconds. I'm sorry.
You just did it though. Do you realize? Yeah, you just did so much.
This was an hour and 17-minute episode, and you needed every minute to understand my final point.
You literally just did. Like, don't discount and discredit this.
Eat me up.
It's really important. You just did it. Olay, you do it all the time. Christina, you do it all the time. Actually, I'm getting to know you. I can't wait to follow you. Dom, I'm sure.
I don't do
that. Well, you just did it though. You put me onto game. You said, and I immediately Googled it. You said there's a difference between, what did you say? Colored and biracial or mixed or something. And I said, well, let me go ahead and find out what that means. Like, you literally just did it. We're all doing the best that we can. And we cannot devalue the work and our efforts, because then other people will as well. It's so important. And I just want to thank y'all, because y'all helped me out. I got tabs open of stuff to look up. I'm not bullshitting you. If I could share my screen, I would. So
Ashley teaches things in a minute all the time. Y'all don't know nothing but Ashley. Gives the funniest like history or Bible lessons, like the way Ashley will tell you a story. Like no, I shit y'all not. Long before there was ever October 7th, like how I first learned about the Palestinian conflict, Ashley tell him the story you tell me about the Rock. How Ashley taught me. Ashley was trying to tell me in school, like I never heard nothing about it. Like, listen, like this about what Palestine. Tell me the story.
No, we were like 17 years old, and I was just like going off about it, because this is like right before the Arab Spring, or like the Arab Spring was like really, like literally just like it was before the fall of one of the first Arab countries, and I was just like fuming at my computer. You know, at some point millennials had this millennial hope call, I call it. And I just was like, yeah, we gotta mobilize, we gotta do something. And Alani asked me what was what, and she said to explain the relationship between Palestine and Israel. So all I told her,
just gotta tell me the story. That's her 1 minute explanation.
All I told her was, imagine there's a bully and you get frustrated, so you throw a pebble at the bully, and the bully take a big rock and just drop it on top.
That's the conflict.
That's pretty accurate,
right?
Yeah.
I say
you gotta add that Britain,
and that's
Britain
how I knew.
gives away the land to the bully first. Tells the bully to head on over.
Mm-hmm. That's why the bully bordering you.
You said you were 17, Ashley.
That was when we were 16 or 17.
Yeah,
that's so much passion.
She said it to me. She said it to y'all all dignified. How she said it to me was, she said, imagine you throw a little rock, and then they come and they throw a big rock. That's how she said it to me, as to what side of the conflict I needed to be on. She said, big rock, big rock. She said, they're going to tell you, they throw a pebble at them, big rock. And that's what I think about every time somebody try to be like, but Palestine is Palestine. I'd be like, big rock.
Big rock. It made it, but to Antoinette's point, that cemented in your head. You know what I'm saying? All the knowledge that you learned after the fact, big rock is what comes in your head. From the mouth of babes.
I feel like that's a good place to end it. Y'all feel educated? Y'all feel like y'all learned? Y'all feel like
you're irritating.
I had such a good time on this panel.
I too had a great time on this panel. And I just want to say,
it was a great panel.
And you better tell people,
okay,
Deshaun.
I had a great time on this panel, and I will be posting about this panel discussion. You know, I will be writing a paper on this panel discussion. Okay, it will be 20 pages long. Please be prepared to read all 20 pages. But the last thing I want to say, because I just want to say this, y'all really fuck with Tyla. I'm sorry, like she made some good ass music, and I know the people got beef with her, but the girl be in the stew, like she be in the studio doing her thing. So I fuck with her. That's all I got to say.
So we should listen to the EP.
You should listen to the EP. It's good.
It's good.
I heard Bryson Tiller have a new album.
That's pretty.
Yeah,
Alright.
it's
not music.
it's very Bryson.
Oh, that's how I'm by myself.
It's
I'm
very,
alone. Nobody
you
care about that.
alone on that front.
Just
I'm
me.
sorry, Bryson
okay.
for me has not hit in a minute.
Y'all don't with Bryson. So wow, tough crowd. That's so crazy.
Real quick before we end, can I ask about Millennial Hope Corps? Can I ask about that real fast?
Oh yeah, man. Okay, so
hold on. I have a question. I have a direct question.
Okay.
Have you seen the talks on the timeline about boom stop clap music? Have you seen these talks for run around?
I hate the rewriting of history. I am sorry. I hate the I was here for home. Let me come home.
Yeah.
Home. Whatever. I was screaming ho. Hey, I was there.
Why were y'all so cheerful? Like what was it? What was like Obama era bliss? Like what? Like why were y'all so cheerful?
No. You know what it is?
You're not a millennial though?
No, I'm 27.
He wants y'all listening
You're
to
27?
y'all don't know this about Dom, but Dom have a deep complex
was-
for age. Dom wants you to
why
know.
did we both?
Dom,
why did we both do this?
Dom wants you to know he's a youth so bad.
Jesus
No,
Christ.
no,
Listen, I'm
it's
from
not.
Philly.
No,
I
no,
aged
no,
bad.
no,
I
it's
know.
not.
I was
Oh my
outside.
God.
The streets
Oh,
fucked me up. The streets fucked me up. gang. Like, you know what I mean?
Don't come no please, fam. Not Dom like call people auntie as soon as they touch 30. No. The people didn't know you were 27. Let's not spare feelings. Like they didn't know.
It's fine, yo. Listen, I get called Uncle in my comment. That's why I call you Auntie. You know what I'm saying?
As they should.
You
He
have
really
uncle
does.
energy. I'm so you do.
Well, that's why he wants you to know. He always wants you to. Dom is find any way to squeeze in that he from Philly and he Gen Z. He needs you to know.
Absolutely.
I
Why?
did.
Gen Z is pushing it.
Well, the
Gen Z is
Gen
pushing
Z
it.
is-
No, I am
Zillennial
Gen Z. No, I'm Gen Z.
Zillennial
Stop.
is
I will stop.
Oh, see, look at him.
I'm
Look
the
at him.
oldest Gen Z. The oldest one. I started this shit.
About a Gen Z and look at him. He was sick.
I built. Cause like, like, listen, we talk about identities and like you try to identify me, and I didn't like how you did that. I'm talking about how I identify.
I said I perceived up.
There's a man who goes around calling me auntie against my will, telling other people to call me that.
No.
I never told anybody to call you that. Don't lie.
Oh yeah. Every time somebody call me an auntie in my comments, I click on them to see public subscriptions. Dawn party mouth right there. I say, look who the did this. I text him every time, like, you see your bullshit? Nah, if I curse these people out, I'm a villain.
No. Let me answer Dom's question. No, Dom. To answer your question, there was the reason why there's a big difference between millennials and Gen Z is because millennials were fed this dream, right? If you go to school, you're gonna get the job, you're gonna do the thing, right?
Yeah.
And so there was still like this aspiration of some kind of hope. But when we came of age, so to say, all of these systems were starting to break down, but we still had media that was very hopeful, right? So you were taught that if there's a problem, you can solve it. If there's an issue, you can go out there and change it. If there's anything out that you can study and make and be the change you want to see, right? So there's all like this hopeful music, and so there's an era between 2010 and 2014. So you had like Stop Coney. With the Stop Coney movement, you had the the 1%, that 1% movement, like we are the 99%. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure someone can call me a stupid bitch in the comments and say that's not the movement, but it was basically Occupy Wall Street. Thank you so much, baby. So it's Occupy Wall Street, right? And then you had the Arab Spring, and then you had the Arab Spring that happened, right? And millennials mobilized in a way where they just wanted to feel not just seen, but they wanted to feel useful, because they also were operating off of like this former standard from like the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, that going out and taking to the streets, that caused for change. That level of protest made change happen, and because for the most part it did, and it worked up until that point. So Millennial Hope Corps, and that's all like the music as well, right? So it's very free. If you want to, you can even call it.
Our beats were free, but our lyrics were not. Like I feel like our lyrics were very miserable.
But it's a specific genre. It's a folk.
They call it boom clap music. They call it boom clap.
Oh, y'all talking about
It wasn't boom clap. Okay, you could call it that.
Boom clap is crazy.
It was
hey.
And it was a good era. I hate the song.
Was I dead? What are y'all talking about? What music
This is. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of shit. Yeah, I mean,
I have a playlist called Millennial Hope Corps, and I'm gonna if you want, I can send you that. I have an Apple playlist.
No,
don't send it to me. No, thank you.
Let me tell y'all what makes me sick about Ashley. Ashley, what is this kind of music here you explaining to us about? What is this you're talking about?
Oh, hey.
Say what it's called. No. Say what it's called. Say what the kind of music is called.
No.
Say what it's called, Ashley.
No.
What is it? Y'all, what kind of music is Ashley talking about?
No.
What is this obscure niche shit she talking about? Okay, right?
Stop what you're doing and listen up. You just watched a video on one of my channels, but the Illuminati-verse is huge, and I want to tell you what everything is and how to find it. The Illuminati-verse has 6 channels. On the YouTube homepage of any one of those channels, every single channel in the Illuminati-verse is featured at the bottom of the page, so you can always easily find them, okay? Remember I said that. Don't say I ain't tell you how to find it. Subscribe to my main channel, Illuminati, to find my Illuminati productions, which are my long-form video essays, and also all of my backlog of content. Subscribe to my second love child, Illuminati Pop, for my weekly video essays analyzing my favorite TV and movie shows and characters. Illuminati Pop also has its own Patreon where you get all of those videos uncensored. Subscribe to my channel, Olay Friends, for my podcast, Olay Friends. New episodes of Olay Friends come out every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Subscribe to Olay Chill for new episodes of my podcast, Olay Chill, every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And also, both Olay Friends and Olay Chill are both available on streaming platforms like Spotify. Subscribe to Illuminati Bites if you want my takes, but you don't have an hour to spend. Subscribe to Illuminati Politics for my political analysis and my State of the Union type addresses on my show O Squared. And last but not least, subscribe to my Substack Illuminati for my written work.